Hello there, Her Side of the Trail listeners. If you've been around, you know that this is not my typical introduction to the podcast, and it's for good reason. Today, this podcast is my 10th episode, and I'm just very proud of myself for completing that. I've read all of these statistics about how podcasts fail. Almost 50% fail by the third episode, and this is 10. So I'm really proud of that. So I wanted to share that with you and just share my excitement. And also thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the podcast, for your support over the last months of the podcast, and just your excitement towards the topic of featuring female hikers and their stories. Welcome. This is Lauren Stites, and you are listening to Her Side of the Trail. Now, for my 10th episode, I wanted to do something a little special, a little different. And that's just to celebrate that I've been able to do 10 of these and feature so far 9 incredible women. And I have another guest this episode who I'm going to be biased and it'll be my favorite guest, and you'll understand why when you meet her. But I wanted to also kind of just share with you a little bit about me because I hate talking about myself. So a lot of people don't know who I am or what I'm about. But I'm Lauren. I'm the host, obviously, of Her Side of the Trail, and I thoroughly enjoy hiking. I am not one of those hikers that's going out backpacking. I'm not doing 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 feet in elevation, 20 miles. That's not me. Maybe one day. I can work up to that, I guess, but that's never been my style. I love day hikes. I love, especially in Pennsylvania, we have, some incredible hikes along the Appalachian Trail over in northern New Jersey. There's some great hikes that we've been getting to. And of course, all up and down the eastern United States, we've been able to do these awesome day hikes. And my trails, max, I'm going to do like maybe 6 or 7 miles in a day. And that's kind of pushing it. I'm not sleeping in a tent on the trail. I've done that once with my mom. And that was it. That was fine. My 15-year-old might be able to convince me to do that. He has to, try a little harder, I think. But if he's really, really excited for a trail and he wants to do it, I'll do it with him. Don't tell him. But this is the kind of hiker I am, right? I love getting outside. I like looking at the trees. I like looking at the animals. Please don't show me any snakes. I'm deathly afraid of them. But this is the kind of hiking I've been doing my entire life. And that's going to lead into my next guest. My next guest is, like I said before, she's going to be number 1 favorite guest of all time. And you'll, again, understand why. She is responsible for who I am and the kind of hiker that I am and why I enjoy hiking and why I've been doing it for so long. But it's my mother. Yes, my almost 78-year-old mother. She's going to be mad that I'm sharing her age, but she is still hiking. She and my dad are still out there hiking. I've actually done a few treks with them this year over the past couple months over the summer. She's out there. And so I have her on today because I wanted her to kind of give you a backstory of me and why I am the way that I am. But I also wanted her just to share a little bit about what it's like as we get older, how hiking changes, how we can still enjoy this hobby of ours. Because I assume everyone listening enjoys hiking. But yeah, so that's what it is. And also, I just kind of wanted to give a shout out, even though it's just my mother on the podcast today, but to both of my parents. They are both my biggest fans. I think my dad might surpass my mom only by like millimeters of being my biggest fan. But no, they are both like, if you look up supportive parents in the dictionary, okay, I might get a little teary about this. If you look up supportive parents in the dictionary, Bill and Kris, there's a picture of them right there. They both, for me and my sister, whatever crazy ideas we have, whatever endeavors we want to do, they are right there cheering us on, supporting us, sometimes financially, which my sister and I are very grateful for. And they're just amazing. So I do have to give a shout out to them. But okay, let's get on to the episode. Let's talk to my mom, who has been hiking and camping and doing all of that since her 20s. You'll hear about it. But now still late 70s, almost 80 years old, she's still out there doing it. So let's get into it. Hi, Mom. Thanks for being here with me today. I'm so excited to have you here. For the audience who doesn't know who you are, your name is Kris. I call you Mom, so that's what you'll be called this whole interview. I just wanted to have you on here to share with everybody my hiking influence and the person who raised me to be the hiker I am today. So thank you. I don't know the answer to this, but I know my grandparents were outdoorsy people. Did you guys hike? Did you hike a lot when you were a child?
No, not really, because we lived in the suburbs and my parents my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but my dad worked a lot because he was a carpenter. We did go to parks on the other side of Philadelphia. There was one there was a lot of walking trails, but that's about it. Not a lot, no. But they were encouraging. What I would say, what I thought about was my sister, who was 3 years older than I. She and I were pushed out the door all the time. It didn't matter if it was 25 degrees and snowing. You're going outside just to play, just get out there and do things. We walked everywhere, grew up in the suburbs. So you're walking everywhere. I walked to the swimming pool. I actually walked to an area that would cross us over US 1 to the 5 Mile Woods, which aren't there anymore. And so we just walked everywhere. That's kind of what we did. And we liked being outside.
Then when did you start hiking as an adult? Is that something that you did with Dad? My dad is an Eagle Scout, just so everyone knows. So I don't know if that's something that he encouraged or if you were just always interested and you wanted to get out.
Well, when we were first married, like every married couple, and we just had no money, so we went camping. And I liked camp because I went to Girl Scout camp a couple
Yes.
times, and that I did some hiking there, but I don't really remember much. We went up to Boulder Field, which I think it's not Towakani. I went there once, but there was another Shahakwa. That was the name of the Girl Scout camp, but that's not there anymore that I know of. But anyhow, so your dad being an Eagle Scout, he was very good at being outdoors. So we bought a tent and anything that we needed, and we hiked and we camped in various places around the Philadelphia area because that's where we lived. And we even went one time with my sister and her husband, where both of whom were my husband and my brother-in-law were Boy Scouts. They didn't think about, oh, it's going to rain, and they didn't make the ditch around the tent. And we started to float a little bit. We were in World's End. And it was really bad. So they're up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're digging with their thing. From they did the ditch. So finally the ditch got dug and water flowed away from us. Oh, it was really like an interesting time, but it never deterred us from going out in the woods and camping and doing things. We just loved it. We
Yeah.
did. And
Just
I think
naturally
that's how
drawn
we
to it.
passed. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just being outside is the best thing,
You would go hiking with me as a baby or a toddler. I think you did that with Karen, my older sister, as well. Was that something you just kind of just started doing? Like, I don't know. I know sometimes people are nervous to go out hiking with their kids. Was that something you were always comfortable with?
Yeah, always. Yeah. In fact, the first time we ever took you camping and hiking was in a backpack because you were 5 months old.
Oh.
And the best story is we were at Mock Chunk State Park up near Jim Thorpe, and your cousin Scott was with us. And there were copperheads all over the place, which didn't bother us. They really just wanted to lie in the sun. But Scott bent down to look at it. He said, "Oh, look, there's a copperhead." And your dad was in a panic. We just walked right by it because it didn't even, like, snake's eyes could open. It didn't even open. So we were like, thank goodness, but there were baby copperheads in the campground. I saw them slithering by, but they would never bother us. I was like, oh my God. And I know you don't like snakes, and maybe that's why you don't like
I don't know.
snakes.
It was at the beginning of my anti-snake. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, that might have been, yeah. But you were always active, and I remember then maybe the next time we went camping was the summer after, and you were toddling around and running at that point. I think you were 18 or 19 months old, and you just wanted to run everywhere, and you would run out of the campsite and I'd have to run after you. And you liked being there. You never complained about anything. So I kind of think that was a good thing.
No, definitely, definitely. Now, okay, so I don't remember my first hike, so obviously I was like 5 months old, I guess, my first hike. But you
Among the
would
copperheads.
among the copperheads, but do you have any favorite memories of me hiking as a kid, that maybe you'll jog some of my memories of these places?
So one of the places we went to was where you've hiked with your kids to High Rocks, Point Pleasant, and you really enjoyed that. You wanted to climb on the rocks,
Fun.
and you were a great hiker. We went everywhere. We could have been hiking 2 or 3 miles. Maybe when you were 2 or 3, you were very good. You're very steady on your legs, and you were always running. And other places that we went to when you were a kid involved your dog because you got a dog when you were, I don't
I
know,
think Lucky
six,
came around I think I was, like, in 2nd grade, so 7 or 8
second
years
grade to
old.
7 or 8 years old. And because he was part Beagle and Springer, he was very active and he was very well trained. So you and I took him on a lot of
A
hikes
lot of
together.
hikes, yes.
Yeah, we did. I remember going to Valley Forge, and when he got really wet, we had to drive home with a wet dog in the car. We did a lot of hiking at least several times a year. We went to Blue Rocks, which you hike up from the campground, and the elevation is 1,000 feet of elevation to get to Pulpit and Pinnacle. And he was off leash the whole time because he would always come back. One time, my favorite experience about Lucky is you and I were hiking with him, and he was at this point, I had the leash, and there was a bunch of Boy Scouts, young kids, and one had a lot of trouble going up that steep incline.
Oh, yeah,
And
that one.
so I put Lucky on the leash and and he held the leash and Lucky literally pulled him up. He pulled him up. And I think that kid was so happy. Other hikes we went on with Lucky was up near Jim Thorpe. There was a big overlook and also over at the Delaware Water Gap. So when we had Lucky, that was probably the most fun for you too, because A, you were with your dog, and B, we were outside and watching him do all this stuff. And I think that was an inspiration, actually, watching
Definitely.
him explore. So it was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Growing up too, we've traveled so much, which I'm always so grateful for, of all the places that you guys have taken us. But I realized that like the majority of the trips that you planned somehow incorporated either like a national park or just something outdoor adventure. You know, like I know we did like whitewater rafting, things like that. Was that important to you when planning family trips, or was that just kind of like an innate thing? Like, cause I know now, like when I'm planning trips with the family, I'm looking at what outdoor activity is available and then what's the other stuff, you know, what else can we do? But it's the outdoor activity is the driver. Was that the same for you when I was growing up?
Yes, it was. If you remember, we were lucky enough to go to Palm Springs, California.
Hmm.
What I loved about Palm Springs is that there was so much outdoor activity. There was Joshua Tree was a big one.
Yeah.
There was some other place, I can't remember the name of it, but maybe it was part of Joshua Tree where they shot a lot of westerns with these huge boulders were right there. And you and I went to the Salton Sea and without your sister and your dad because they were doing something else. And then but we also made a trip to the Marriott Hotel where what was the name of the
Oh,
television
Saved by
show?
the Bell.
Saved by the Bell. So we had to take the gondola ride through so there was some luxury involved once in a while. Yeah, yeah.
But also, I remember
Always.
when we got there, though, like, I feel like the first day we got there, we went up a mount. Did we take like a train? Yeah, a gondola up to the mountain.
To San Jacinto where they had a foot of snow and we cut down to Palm Springs and it was 80 degrees.
Yes.
So, but we just got that out of our system because we wanted to kind of hike around there. Everything was really about being outdoors. I mean, I enjoy going to museums. It's not that, but I'd rather be outside and just be in nature because there's so much to see and do.
Yeah, I think
Hmm.
I mean, I like to have a mix, but again, like I said, like my draw now for going places is what kind of great hiking is nearby, and then, oh,
Yeah.
what else is there too? What else is
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I think that's really important. All the hikes that you and I did and then we did as a family, we just enjoyed being outside. I remember one time we went up to Ricketts Glen State Park. There was a lot of hikes and there was a lot of waterfalls. I'm not
Yes.
sure there were any great views, but it was always down, down,
No.
down, and then up,
Yes.
up, up. And so
Yes.
we found that. Yeah.
It is a
Hmm.
beautiful park.
It is.
It's like the park that everyone recommends in Pennsylvania, so.
Yeah, it is gorgeous for sure. Hmm.
Now, you've done a lot of hiking without us as well. You've explored many places. I remember growing up that you did the Grand Tetons. I think you did rock climbing in New Hampshire. Do you have some favorite hiking trips that you've done without the family, just kind of, on your own or with friends?
I have had I've been so fortunate and wonderful experiences. One that I can think of is I did with your mother in law, with Sally. We went on a trip, a woman trip, 18 women to Ecuador and Peru and the Galapagos Islands. And one of the places we visited was Machu Picchu, which this is now going back to 2011 or 2013. I'm not sure which, that was somewhere around there. And we got to Machu Picchu. And of course, you were such in awe of this beautiful place that was built by the Inca. And yet we could also hike part, not totally, but we hiked part of the Inca Trail. We hiked all the way up to the ridge line. It was about an 1,800-foot climb. It was just magnificent. That was one of the places that really thrilled us to go to. Another really fun hike was on a glacier in Iceland where your dad and I hiked, had to put crampons on and the whole thing. And this was last year, but so there's a lot of fun places to go. My girlfriend Barbara and I had the best fun in the Tetons,
Mhm.
and we were going to be going rock climbing. It happened rock climbing up to the Grand Teton. And she and I hiked switchbacks all the way up. And you're starting at a trailhead of about 6,000 feet, and we slept out overnight at about 10,000 feet, which was very interesting. Yeah. So we did crazy hikes there too. And then we did some rock climbing in New Hampshire and the Shongugs in New York. So we had a lot of fun with that, she and I.
You just mentioned that you hiked this glacier last year, and I'm gonna out you as an elder 70 something at this point. So now that you are in your late 70s, what have you found the most challenging about getting out on hikes? Because you're still hiking, like you're still getting out there, which is incredible. It's life goals, right? What have you found to be the most challenging now when it comes to hiking?
Well, I think your speed is decreased, as you know, when we did the Blue Rocks Trail up to the pulpit, but that's okay. You don't have to do things fast anymore. Also, as you age, and I was a physical therapist for 40 years, so I have a pretty good understanding of the physiologic changes that happens as you age. So balance could be a little bit off. Not that our balance is bad, but you step on an awkward place. So you need your hiking poles.
I was gonna say you started using hiking poles in the last, decade or so, yeah.
We bought them in Dahlonega, Georgia, actually, which was and up because we hiked into the Hike Inn up near Amicalola Falls, and that's where the Appalachian Trail starts. So we did the 5 miles in, and then we went back the 5 miles, which was just magnificent because there were rhododendrons everywhere, which was really beautiful. The other thing too is that even though your legs are very strong, and we live in a place where the highest elevation is 400 feet or something. So we're not really climbing up. We're more at sea level. So you find that your lung capacity isn't as good. So you just have to take it slow. And I think footwear too is really important,
Oh,
having
definitely.
really good shoes. Yeah. Hmm.
Those are
And
good
then
tips.
getting help when you need it.
Yes, yes, don't be
Like a
ashamed to
tush
ask
push.
like a tush push.
Yeah.
You listen to my podcast, so I bring you guys up often. Almost every episode, I talk about where you guys have been and what you guys have done, and,
Hmm.
I just hope that you are an inspiration also to anyone listening that, even in your late 70s, you can still be. I mean, you guys just did a couple years ago, you were in some of the national parks out west.
Yep,
After
we did that
your big trip,
again.
you were in the Grand Canyon, you were in Zion again. So you're never too old.
No, you're not. And it's amazing with Rice, we chose different trails. We had been there 10 years before and we said, okay, these are the ones we did. We did Hat Shop and we did this, and the Queens Trail was closed. So we did all these other trails, but you forget that you're at about 8,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we had hiking poles, we had hiking shoes, and we stopped at the bottom. You stay well hydrated, especially at a place like that. And we saw women with flip-flops on. I didn't quite understand that. We hiked Monadnock in New Hampshire probably 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And this was October, and there were people there with UGG boots on and flip-flops. So
It's good that they're out, but maybe be a little bit better prepared with the footwear. I know we saw someone at the Pinnacle and Pulpit a couple years ago. We were there in the summertime, and they were in like the Old Navy like dollar flip flops. I swear that's what they had on. And Pinnacle and Pulpit, for anyone who don't know, that is such a rocky trail. It is the true epitome of Rocksylvania, and I can't imagine walking that trail in flip flops. Anyway,
the other thing that we learned was about dressing appropriately. So we got to Monadnock, the top, it was chilly. It was beautiful. We were doing leaf peeper season in October. It was just gorgeous in New Hampshire, but it was probably 75 degrees at the base of Monadnock, and you got up there and, I think it's 4,000 feet or whatever it is. It was 45 degrees. It was a little chilly. And I was like, okay, now I've had enough of this. And I hurried, went
go
back
back
down
down,
again.
warm up again.
I've been so many neat places. I can't even. Just a couple of years ago, I was in Sheffield, England. And we had 3 wonderful hikes, and it's just up the Peaks District of England. If anybody's not been there, you got to go because it's just gorgeous, the Peaks District. So I've been fortunate, I will say.
Well, I have been fortunate too because you've dragged me to a lot of these amazing places. And now I get to repay it to my kids and do the same and take them to all these really cool places. The other thing I like too is that you guys do this and then I go, okay, guys, I want to go here now. So tell me what to do, where to go. You have inspired me to visit all these unique places. All right, Mom. So I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy lady, but you know what question I'm going to ask you next. So, if you could only do a waterfall hike or a hike with a view for the rest of your life, only one of those kinds of hikes, what would you do?
I think I'd like the view. I like the view.
I
Yeah.
had a feeling
I'm
you were going to say
surrounded
that.
I'm surrounded by water,
Yeah.
but I don't have any waterfalls where I live,
No.
no, but I like the views, especially when you're at Bryce or you're at the top of the Grand Teton. It's just amazing. You can see for miles and miles.
You
It's
feel
just
so small up.
incredible. You do. You feel really small, but it brings you a perspective and you say, this is the earth. Let's take care of all of this. And I'm a firm believer in that.
Well, thanks, Mom, again for hanging
Well, you're
out and
welcome.
showing people, why I am the way that I am.
It really is very special to be able to continue to do this. We're grateful that we're still healthy enough, and yeah, we've got some arthritic stuff going on, but it
Eh,
doesn't matter. It doesn't
not
matter.
gonna slow you down.
Not going to slow us down. Yep, as the song says. Thanks, honey. It was
Uh,
great.
yes, well, thank you, and then I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Her Side of the Trail. There are more hiker stories to hear, so please follow along to hear them as soon as they come out. And if you like this episode, please share it with your friends or on social media. Her Side of the Trail is hosted and produced by me, Lauren Stites. I can't wait to share another hiker story with you next episode.